Hi, I'm Ariel. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and today I'm going to be talking about being black in the book community. Now, the reason I say in the book community rather than booktuber is because I don't really consider myself a booktuber, and I try to avoid using that term because I feel like it identifies me with something that I don't want to be identified with, and I feel like I don't share a lot of the same goals and aspirations as a lot of booktubers. So if you're interested in knowing more in depth about that, I have a whole video where I explained it in detail. So I'll go ahead and link to that up in the cards. But the reason we are here is to talk being black in the book community. And this is not an original video idea. I cannot take credit for this at all. I have seen a lot of other black creators making these videos in response to all that is going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement. If you've been really reading the news at all or on social media at all, I'm sure you already know all about it, and I'm sure you've already probably contributed. If you haven't, I would highly urge you to contribute. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know that I have not been quiet at all during this time about Black Lives Matter and the fact that I wholeheartedly support it. And so I've been on there a lot. Like, usually I'm a person that maybe checks social media like once per day, 15 minutes a day. I'm also very sporadic on there. Like, I'll have days where I'm posting a lot or in a sequence of days, and then I will go weeks without being pretty quiet, you know? So my presence over there, I've been on there almost constantly for the past week, just sharing my thoughts. And I don't typically get on Insta stories, but I was on Insta stories a lot, just talking about things as they happened. And as I said on there, I'm just allowing myself to be kind of messy on social media right now because it's a lot to deal with and a lot to process, and I'm just allowing myself to say what I want to say when I want to say it. And my channel is no different, but I really feel that on this channel, I have a responsibility to speak out. Like, not only on my Instagram, which is directly tied to this YouTube channel, I only made it in relation to this YouTube channel, but I have a responsibility to speak out. Now, black people are never obligated to be your teachers or your tokens or your absolvers. We're not obligated to do the work of discussing racism right now, but I am one of those people that chooses to talk about race. And I have always spoken about race on my channel. I have always spoken about LGBTQ plus rights. I have always spoken about, like, I've only been here for about 2 years now. But these issues that everyone says is so political are things that I regularly choose to speak on and that I feel like my channel are about, in addition to being about books. Like, my channel has always been political because I see and view the world through my lens, which is a black, queer, among other things. Like, it's that lens. So I don't feel like my channel has ever been not political because I don't shy away from speaking about these topics. And it is doubly important to me to speak about Black Lives Matter because I have a huge white audience on this channel. Well, I don't have a huge audience, but I know that the majority of my subscribers are white. And I know that some of you are going to be asking yourself, well, how could I possibly know that? Because it's not like it shows you in your YouTube stats what race the people that are subscribing to you are. How I know this is by the engagement that I get. So most of the engagement that I get is from white people, and I could tell this from their profile pictures, seeing their channels, seeing my regular commenters. Now, there may be a black audience there that follows me that isn't as vocal, but I really only know about the people who are commenting and the people whose channels I can see. I don't know about people who have their subscriptions private. So I can say that my impression is that my audience is majority white, but I'm a black person. And if you don't know up until this point, I feel like I've said it before, but a lot of people that I meet that are strangers have questions about what am I? And so I'm going to restate it for this video, is that I am half black, half white. I consider myself mixed. I consider myself black. And yeah, that's what it is. So there are probably a lot of reasons that my audience is primarily white. And I could speculate on that. I could speculate that it's because I live in a primarily white place. if you don't know this, I've said this in other videos, but if you are new to this channel, I live in a place where it is predominantly white. I live in Springfield, Missouri, smack dab in Missouri, in the Midwest, the Bible Belt. You know, like, I live somewhere that is not exactly the healthiest for a black queer person to live, okay? If you don't know my queer identity either, I identify as bisexual. So yeah, I don't live in exactly the greatest place to live, but this has just happened to be where my family was, and so I haven't been able to move away yet. I believe the latest census records that I've seen state that this city is 88% white, okay, and 4% black, if I'm not mistaken. So my entire life, I have been socialized around white people. I have grown up around primarily white people, and so I have a theory that that is the type of audience that I attract. And also follows from that most of my friends in real life are white as well. So I'm really not surprised that a lot of white people show up to my channel, because most of my friends in real life are white and queer. So I'm not surprised that I attract a lot of that audience. The other thing that I will say is I believe that some of it comes from the fact that I have privilege. Now, I've spoken on this before, but although I am discriminated against in the world at large for being a black person, I still have some privilege within that blackness. And what I mean by that is that because, and this isn't even to use my words, like, this is not me being egotistical at all, but because I have been described as a pretty light-skinned girl, I have a lot of, like, pretty privilege, and I have a lot of, like, mixed girl privilege, because a lot of us are just over-sexualized and fetishized and considered to be sexy and pretty, and so people will watch and listen to us that will not watch and listen to people with darker skin or that may have different features. I also have a lot of, like, good hair privilege, because I have naturally curly hair that's considered more desirable than nappy hair, which obviously I do not agree with. I think all forms of blackness are beautiful, but I know that I've even received comments from other black people in real life talking about how I have good hair because of that internalized racism, where we've been conditioned to believe that type 3 hair is somehow more desirable than type 4 hair, or, you know, anything else in between. And so I have a lot of that privilege, and I operate with a lot of that privilege, where a lot of people that would not watch me or would not listen to me, a lot of white people find me more comfortable because I am closer in proximity to whiteness, if that makes any sense. And I can speculate and keep speculating as to why I have a majority white audience on this channel. But because I have a white audience on this channel, that is one of the reasons I feel obligated, and not just obligated, but I want to speak out on this, because there's a chance that maybe I'm the only person of color or the only black person that some of y'all are subscribed to, or the only person that y'all might possibly listen to. So that's one reason. But the thing I want to make clear is that despite me having majority white audience on this channel, white people are not who I make this channel for. And I've spoken on this before. Ideally, I make this channel for someone like me, okay? To put this in science fiction terms, I make this channel for me from an alternate universe. I picture a girl like me growing up who did not feel seen, who did not feel heard, who did not know that books by black authors were a thing, who grew up reading all white authors in school, who felt isolated, whether that was for being shy or being an introvert or being artsy or liking to read or being a geek, having nerdy interests, being into fandoms, for being black, for being queer. I ideally make it for that girl. For me, the content I make is stuff that I would want to see and stuff that I enjoy. And I think a lot of creators will probably tell you the same thing, is I make this stuff for me. Not literally for me, but for someone like me. Now, what I will tell you all is I don't know if the ideal person that I make this channel for has found my channel yet. I couldn't tell you, but that is who I do it for. Now, in the process, do I probably end up educating a lot of white people on these topics because I choose to speak on them? Yes. But I just want to say, if you're a white person, and I especially know that a lot of black creators are getting an influx of followers and subscribers to their accounts right now, just keep in mind that these are our spaces, and try to be respectful of that, and don't demand recommendation lists from us. Don't demand anything from us, because we are exhausted and we do a lot of this labor out in the world. And not every single one of us is going to be down to be your teacher. Now, I'm one of those people who does choose to try to teach and speak about these things openly, but that doesn't mean that every single black person has the space to do that, like emotionally, physically, mentally. And that doesn't even mean that I will have the space all the time, but it does mean that on this channel, I try to make it a space where I talk about these issues. And there's also the issue of tokenization, okay? I've seen a lot of other Black creators say that they don't want people to come just for their skin color. I don't want you to subscribe to me just because I'm Black. I mean, that can be a part of why you subscribe to me, maybe something you learn along the way, but ideally we want to be seen for who we are, you know, and like Blackness is part of that, but if you're only subscribing to us because we're Black and not because you like anything that we're doing or anything that we're saying, or you like our personality, or you like the books that we talk about and how we talk about them, like that can make us feel shitty because we're not being fully seen as who we are. And there's also, I think, this tendency to feel resentment and mistrust, because if it takes a video of black person being brutally murdered for you to care about Black people or Black creators, you really never cared about us to begin with. And I'm not saying that it's too late to try, and I'm not saying that I don't welcome you here. On the contrary, I do. But it is hard to believe that that caring is genuine, just because that's the extent of, it takes a loss of life. It takes someone losing their life on camera for people to try to look at us and see us and celebrate our lives. It takes a Black death to bring about the appreciation of Black life, and that can be deeply scarring. I also want to say there's also this element of guilt. And I saw another video, which, by the way, I'll try to link to a couple of these videos, or maybe a playlist of these videos so you can go and watch them, because I'm not the only person speaking on this topic. I'm far from the only creator speaking on this topic, but I saw someone else talking about how we are also not your givers of absolution. So if you are only subscribing out of guilt, you feel like you have to, you feel like it's the thing to do, then don't. No one wants to force you to be in their space if you don't want to be there. No one wants you there resenting them because you're only subscribing because we're Black and you need to follow some Black creators. Like, no Black creators want to force you to watch their content, and no one wants you watching their content because you feel bad for them. That's not it. Just like, it goes back to what I was saying, is if you don't like something else about us, or you don't like something about what we're actually doing, you don't like our ideas, you don't like our... And I feel like this relates to... Okay, I'm going to put it another way. Back when I was dating, which was years ago, I've been in a relationship for years, but it was really difficult for me to find somebody who saw me. And I don't just mean physically saw me and appreciated my body, but who saw my mind and appreciated my thoughts and my ideas. It was easy to find someone who appreciated my physical form, okay? But it was harder to find somebody who saw not only my physical form, but then also my intelligence and my ideas, you know, like they saw deeper than that. And Adam is definitely that person for me. But yeah, so it's like that. You can see that we're Black on the outside, but please appreciate more about our ideas, appreciate more about what we've been doing, what we're trying to say. And don't just tokenize us. And don't just expect us to be able to handle your guilt or be able to absolve you of that guilt. Don't be looking to us to absolve you of that guilt. Another thing a lot of creators were bringing up is that they felt like in this community they weren't receiving the appreciation or the numbers that they feel like their work deserved. And obviously I do feel like white book creators are probably always going to do better than us, because YouTube is a very visual medium, and because racism is still so prevalent, people are going to see a thumbnail with a Black face and probably choose a white face over a Black face, and that's just the reality of it. I don't like it. I don't endorse it. I just think that's the reality of it, is that in any sphere, Black creators are going to be less appreciated. But like I said, because I am making my content ideally for someone just like me, I'm not bothered by that. I have never been here for the numbers. And I'm not saying people who are here to try to grow their channel and get opportunities, they're wrong for wanting that. No. I'm just saying that is not my goal. That has never been important to me. What is more important to me is connecting with people who care about books, I guess. Like, I'm just here to connect, and I can have all the subscribers in the world, but what really, really matters to me is people that I talk to and have become friends with, and just I've developed some really great friendships here. And so that's what it's always been about for me, is I don't really care about my subscriber number. I'm not going to say it's meaningless, because it has given me some confidence to continue working on the channel and things like that. But that is not my end goal, is to have a bunch of subscribers. It's to have people that I consider friends, I guess, and just discussion and community and those type of things. So that's not really a concern for me. And I can't really speak to, a lot of people will say, well, if your content was better, then more people would watch you. And I don't really agree with that, because I do feel like there are some Black creators making great content that not enough people appreciate. The other thing is, I tend to stay out of the corners of BookTube that are very, very popular channels. And most of the very, very popular channels also happen to be white booktubers. So I don't follow a lot of those very well-known channels, like, try to name a few: Books and Lala, Haley and Bookland, Clockwork Reader. Yeah, you're not going to catch me following any of those channels just because they're so huge. And one of the reasons that I don't really interact with huge channels is because they don't tend to interact with their commenters or like their fans as much, and they also don't tend to read a lot of books that I'm interested in. A lot of the bigger channels focus primarily on YA, and that is not the majority of what I read as, you know, a 26-year-old. Like, I'm open to reading YA, but it is not, my audience is not teenagers, and so I'm not really looking to talk to teenagers, you know? Like, my content is, I feel like it's for adults. So yeah, I do tend to avoid those big channels. I also like smaller booktubers because they're more willing to talk and interact in most cases, and there's more of a sense of community and equality than trying to talk to someone that has hundreds of thousands of followers. You know, they're busy, they're flooded with comments, you'll never get a response, you know, and I'm more like the person-to-person interaction of talking to smaller channels. So I tend to stay out of that corner of what I would describe as white booktube altogether. Now, some of you may be questioning, although my subscriptions are privated, most of the people in the book community that I interact with are white, or like that I'm friends with. And so some of you might be like, well, how can you say, you know, you're for Black creators if you're not regularly watching a lot of Black creators, you're not friends with a lot of Black creators? And I feel like there's a lot of levels to that. Like I said, I grew up socialized around white people. The majority of my friends in real life are white queer people. So like I said, I'm not surprised that those type of people are drawn to me. But I select content to watch. First of all, I have never been great at watching BookTube. I started making videos before I knew that BookTube or the online book community was a thing. And so I've never really been a watcher. And I really only watch a handful of people regularly. And that's just the honest truth, is I don't force myself to watch videos that I'm not gonna wanna watch. I won't force myself to watch something that I'm not interested in. So I choose things by, you know, there's a lot of people that I watch because I like their personality, even if I don't agree with any of their reviews or their taste in books. They're just awesomely cool people that have great recommendations, and you really feel good just like hanging out with them. Or people that do read a lot of things I'm really interested in, or that read widely, or that read queer books. Like there's a lot of reasons. And it's also, I have a lot of things that I dislike in videos, okay? I cannot stand if I click on a video and I hear a smoke detector beeping in the background, which is actually a lot of videos. I will not watch. I cannot watch. It drives me insane. So I feel like the audio needs to be good. Another of my pet peeves is I'm not gonna name him, but this one guy's videos where he was like burping a lot in the videos. Like I will not do that. I can't do that either. So it's a lot of things that will automatically like stop me from watching your videos. And I think a lot of people probably have their own things like this, but how I select whose videos to watch is not their race. Like I was saying with tokenization, I'm not going to subscribe to you just because of what race you are if I don't also enjoy your content. So I know of a lot of black book creators and have interacted with some of them a little bit, but if I'm not loving the content, then I'm not gonna force myself to interact with them. I feel like I also subscribe to people who return my energy. And a lot of times, even when I make it a point to go over to a channel, introduce myself, watch several of their videos, comment on several of their videos, it can suck because a lot of times I don't get that energy returned to me. I don't see them, they're not obligated to, but I don't see them come and check out any of my videos. I don't see them comment or really give me a sufficient, what I feel like is a sufficient response, or just kind of like a half-hearted response. Like if I don't feel totally welcomed, then, you know, like I have anxiety, so I need to feel like totally welcome and accepted, and I can get my feelings hurt really easily just because I'm probably more sensitive than I come off. So yeah, that really sucks when I put out that energy and don't get a return. So that's another major factor if they don't answer their comments, or because I make it a point on my channel to always answer my comments because, as I said, I grew up not feeling included. So I always make it a point to answer almost every single one of my comments, if you've ever noticed that about my videos. So yeah, I have commented and reached out to, you know, different Black book creators who I felt like, you know, either ignored me or they just gave me a response that I felt like just they weren't really that into what I said, or, you know, and that goes the same for white book creators as well. I've also had white people ignore me. You know, like this isn't just a race issue, this is also just a creator issue. And I totally get that because it depends on the number of subscribers. If you have a high subscriber count, you might be too busy to answer your comments, or you might, it's the simple fact of people are busy and they have lives and they don't always have time to answer their comments. They might not understand, like I did when I started making videos, that there's a whole book community at large and that it's good etiquette to go, if someone checks out your video, to maybe check out their video and comment. You know, like I didn't understand the time investment and sort of the reciprocation that is sort of good manners in the book community. So I'm not by any means saying that Black creators aren't supportive of other Black creators, but in my experience, I haven't happened to find a lot of channels or Black creators that returned my energy, if that makes any sense. But there has been certain Black creators that have returned my energy, and so it just depends. I know I don't have to justify my following list to anyone, but in case you are wondering, because I feel like also in regards to my socialization, a lot of Black people are very suspicious of me. And I don't know how to describe this. It's a bias due to the way that I talk. I was told a lot of times growing up by other Black people that I spoke white, and it was something that I am still to this day self-conscious about and have had to overcome, with feeling like I'm not Black enough because it's something that I've been told my entire life. But the way that I speak doesn't change my Blackness. And also the way that I speak on here, I am pretty honest with you guys, but code switching is a thing if you don't know, and switching back and forth between proper white English and AAVE is something that I sometimes do, and I don't tend to speak in it as much on this channel. I will sometimes slip into it. Like I try to speak on this channel as I would to a friend or someone that I know well, but a lot of times because I'm talking about books and it's an intellectual subject, I try to speak, you know, more proper, because, and this is something I just do around white people in general, is speak more proper so they don't discredit me. But I feel like a lot of Black people are suspicious of me because I have a white significant other, or, you know, I'm light-skinned, or because of the way that I talk. So I feel like there is already a lot of sort of bias and suspicion there, and then also the racism on the other side from white people. So it may be a cliche, but I don't feel totally accepted by either culture or group, and I never have. And I've spoken about that on this channel before as well. So there's a lot of reasons that Black creators, I can't read their mind, but there's a lot of reasons why they might not want to support me or might have their suspicions of me, because just because you are Black does not mean you are woke. And I feel like a lot of people, Black people especially, rightfully suspect that I'm not woke because I'm light-skinned, because I live in a predominantly white area, because I have a white partner, all these things. Like I can't even tell y'all the type of looks and how weirdly I get looked at when me and Adam, so I'm in a interracial relationship. Adam is white and I am Black. If we go out to eat, we get a lot of stares and looks because of the couple that we are and where we live. So yeah, I understand it. I get it. I hold no resentment, you know? And to be honest, I could make more of an effort. I get myself butthurt all the time because, like I said, I have anxiety and I'm sensitive. And if somebody doesn't return my energy, then I feel hurt, you know, and I might not try to ever reach out again. And it could be a total misunderstanding. It might not even be they're intentionally trying to make me feel that way, but if I feel that way, I don't really try again. And I do feel like I need to try harder to support other creators of color, because it is hard to be out here. Because as one of my good friends, we were just talking about this, is that a lot of people of color tend to get a lot of flack and hate in the book community. And lately I have had probably half of my comments have all been hate comments. And I feel like that is partially due to the fact that I have a very popular video about what books rappers read. So people are coming into my channel from the context of that video and not realizing that what I do is sit and talk, and expecting me to be a video channel where there's going to be exciting footage and I don't even know what is, but they just don't understand that it's a book channel where I primarily sit and talk. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of hate comments, just hate comments from that, and I continue to get hate comments the bigger that my channel gets. So that can be hard to deal with. The criticism can be hard to deal with. It can be isolating to be a creator of color in this community. So within the book community, I feel like I occupy a particular niche where I have a unique perspective or a uniqueness to my channel that I feel like I have a unique opportunity to address these issues and talk about it here, which is one of the reasons that I continue to do so. But in talking about what factors into my decision to watch a channel, I also feel like whether or not that person is sponsored or not definitely contributes a lot, because I've had Black creators that I really liked and was really interested in following until they got sponsored, and then almost every post became a sponsored post. And I mean, I understand that that's some people's thing and that's what they want to do, and no hate to that, but personally, because I've always been about accessibility, like, I grew up poor, so like I said, if I am making this content and making my channel ideally for a person like me, I don't want to be promoting a company where they're selling brand new books to people, because that's not accessible to everyone. And a lot of poor people rely on the library to get their books, or, you know, even like used bookstores. And that's why you will never see me with brand new books or working with publishers or sponsors or whatever. I wouldn't want to, because I want my channel to remain about the actual content of the books rather than physically owning the books, which I don't think ownership is necessary for you to appreciate and love books. So that's another very big factor of who I choose to watch and who I choose to support, because there's been a lot of people that I liked, and then as soon as they started being sponsored, I just didn't feel like following them anymore. I wasn't interested. I unsubscribed, whatever. So that's definitely another topic that I wanted to bring up. And then also, reading diversely is obviously really important to me. Like, I like people that have a lot of wide-ranging tastes and they don't just read in one genre. Like, for example, if you're a channel that reads primarily fantasy, then I'm probably not going to subscribe and not going to watch you, and it's nothing to do with you. It's just I am, for the most part, not really interested in reading just exclusively fantasy books. That's not to say I'm not open to it, but I feel like I want to read all over the place. So fantasy is not a genre that I love. Like, I'm more likely to be interested in a channel that's all sci-fi. You know, like, rather than channels that focus on one genre, I like things where people are reading a lot of different genres and a lot of different types of authors. And yeah, so if you're not doing that, I'm probably not going to subscribe either, just because, I mean, the same holds true for just YA channels. Like, that's another really important factor on who I choose to subscribe to. I know there are a couple lists I have seen from different creators, Black creators, who have tried to make lists of Black creators in the book community and then tried to like link to all of those or just like list them all, because it is such a struggle to find them online and on YouTube. I'm not on either of the lists that I know that exist. Even though I asked to be included on one, I don't know if she just forgot or never got the message or what happened, but I will link to those because I think people are finding it hard to find Black creators because they're so rare. So if that's your problem, is you don't know where to find them, I'm going to link to those. And then I would also suggest, a lot of creators are making the being Black in the book community videos, so that's another good place to find them. I mean, a lot of those videos that'll pop up are really old, but recently like there's been a resurgence of those videos, so I think that's another good place to find channels that are currently active. Or another good thing I would search for is like there's specifically Black Readathons that people have made and participate in. I know one of them is Blackathon, but that's far from being the only readathon that is specifically around Black books. So that's another thing I would say, is to look for, maybe search Blackathon or some of the other Black readathons. I'll try to list the other ones if I can remember the names, but those are some search terms to probably hit. I also know that the hashtag Own Voices Reviews, I don't know if that ever took off, but I know that some people were using that. Let's see, what's some of the other ones? Blackandbookish or different things like that. So I'll try to put them in the description box if you're trying to find more people to subscribe to. I've also seen a lot of recommendation lists for like Black books to read going around. And while I think this is a good thing that those lists are going around, I also noticed that a lot of them tend to be mostly nonfiction books, like about the history of racism and slavery and things like that in America. That is far from the only type of book by Black authors that you can find. There's also genre fiction. There are things that don't exclusively revolve around the Black struggle, and I think it's important to read both, like read all types. So yeah, just be aware if nonfiction is not your thing and you want to get educated in other ways, like there are other Black books that you can read. And I'm not going to like put out any specific recommendation. I'm not going to make a recommendation list right now or anything, but if you are looking for those lists, they are out there. But I also wanted to talk about real quick, a lot of bookstores are talking about how they're selling out of Black titles, so titles by Black authors right now. And while that's great, and I think that's a good thing, I want you to think about, well, I was thinking about who are probably the majority of people buying these books. Who are the people that have enough spending money and leisure time and things like that to buy brand new books? Probably white people, probably privileged white people with plenty of spending money to go towards books. And those aren't the only people that I feel like need to be reading those books, you know? And so accessibility to those books, I feel like, is kind of an issue because a lot of places are still closed because of the coronavirus. So a lot of people don't have access to their libraries. And, you know, white people aren't the only people that probably want or should be reading books by Black authors. Like, there are non-Black POC that might want to educate themselves. There are other Black people that might want to further educate themselves. So yeah, I think, again, that's a good thing, but it's also like how many people are following through on reading these books. How many people are reading outside of just nonfiction, like Black nonfiction, and not even that, but just how many people are reading outside of Black fiction or Black books from a Western perspective, because I know most of the Black books that I've read are from a Western perspective, and even those I only started reading within the past couple of years because I did not know, even though I've loved books my whole life, I didn't know that Own Voices work existed, and I didn't know that there were people that looked like me. I feel like the representation for people that look like me, both in reading and in writing, was just not there for me growing up. So that's one of the reasons I make it a point to read these things, talk about these things on my channel, etc., is because I didn't have that representation growing up. And that's why it's so important to me to see that, is so that I guess the next generation of kids or people growing up will have that there because, you know, we lobbied for it and we supported it and we're talking about it or whatever. I mean, I'm glad that there has been sort of a resurgence and an emphasis and a spotlight put on Black authors and reading Black works, but I just hope that that energy continues and there continues to be that level of interest and activism, because I know as a creator it can feel like I have a very small window right now where people are more interested in these issues and are more willing to listen to what I have to say, so it could kind of feel like I need to push myself and rush out content and hurry up and say every single possible thing I need to say about race and about racism because I'm going to miss my chance. So I just really hope that's not the case and the world continues caring as much as it has this past week for, you know, along with for forever. Like, I really hope that continues, but I know at the same time, realistically, it's not. So there can be kind of that panicky feeling where like I need to say every single thing that I possibly can, but that's not possible, and like I know that. So it's kind of stressful. Because like I said, I've been talking about these things since the inception of my channel and plan on continuing to do so in the context of books and also on my Instagram. But yeah, it's kind of a weird feeling to feel like you've been speaking on these things, but only just now are people interested, or only just now are people hearing you and seeing the work that you're doing. So it's kind of weird. I'm also planning on making like a compilation video of like all the like woke moments that have been in my videos like from the beginning, just because I think it would be cool to see like that over time, or like the passage of time in my videos. So I'm also probably going to be working on that, and I don't know when I'm going to be finished or what it's going to look like, but that's just another thing that I was planning on doing. I think that Black creators need to make more of an effort to support each other, and because it can be exhausting to make content in this environment and exhausting to exist in this world. So I think that we do need to support each other and have each other's backs more and be more forgiving of each other. But I also think that white creators need to, or white people in general need to seek out those alternate perspectives, seek out Black creators and support them, because I think your allyship or your support could mean a lot. I just think if you're limiting yourself to only the white perspective, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because not everyone shares that, and the world isn't all white. Like America may be majority white, but the world isn't majority white. And this extends to me as well. Like I read relatively diversely when it comes to like queer books, but like I said, most of the Black books that I read are from a Western perspective. I don't read a lot of African authors. I wouldn't consider myself a worldly reader, because I don't read like internationally. I don't read a lot of translated works. I don't read a lot of works by disabled people. I don't read a lot of books by Asian authors. So even speaking to myself here, I think that I can do better and that we can do better. Like we can always be doing better. So although I try to push myself, I don't just need to be reading the marginalizations that I have. I'm not only going to be reading in those categories. Like I need to expand beyond that. And I think as a reader, that's something that we should all be striving to do, is broaden our horizons, I guess. So I think for now, although there is a lot that I want to say, there is so much more I could say. I could probably talk forever, but I think that for now, that is what I want to say. I'm going to keep talking about this, obviously, and posting stuff on my Instagram. If you want to follow me over there, it's the same exact name. She Wants the Diction. No dashes, anything. Just She Wants the Diction. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.